Hello there. Welcome back to Maximum Weight Challenge with Alpine. We are going to continue where we left off. We have had a pretty decent start to the season with 44 points and second place after the first two races, but let's be honest here, that is probably going to change very, very rapidly. Currently, our car is not very good, and even if we take a quick look now, the car is basically midfield in terms of cornering, very good in terms of speed, but we do lack acceleration, and our cooling is also amazing. We're still going to develop the car slightly, I do believe, over the course of this season, but what I am seeing here, also with the board's objectives here fourth, is that we are most likely going to struggle a little bit to get that fourth place. We're going to be fighting Aston Martin, Mercedes, and Ferrari. We can hope that they'll snatch points from each other, but we're going to have to beat one of these teams to get that goal completed. And as I said here, as we see with Red Bull having 87 points and, well, 1-2 in the championship so far with 2 wins, I do believe that what we are going to be doing this season is just going to be another development season. As such, we're going to be kind of speeding it up a little bit. We are running out of time. It's just 3 weeks until 24 releases. So what we are going to be doing today is doing the first half of this season. And for Around the Grid, just as a heads up, we might end up just doing videos that are complete seasons every couple of days. So that's going to be the plan. I did spend some time fishing last week, and as a result, I didn't really do much. This week, I'm planning on kind of getting back into it and speeding things up a little bit. So you should expect a lot of F1 Manager content this and next week. We will hopefully be wrapping up both Around the Grid and also Maximum Weight. So that is the goal. And as I said, we might condense the videos a little bit more to get that done. But yeah, so far the the challenge here has gone well. We are going to be looking at going into the Australian GP in just a couple of weeks here. We're also upgrading our weather center, which honestly kind of need every advantage at this point because we are lacking a little bit. We're also going to go ahead and refurbish the helipad, get a little bit extra money. Yeah, in terms of facilities, suspension sim, and car part test center, both of these are almost at maximum. Probably maximizing towards the end of the year. Probably get another level under the science center as well. Yeah, so far I think we're gonna wait with also the weather center here, because the monthly upkeep is going up a little bit, and also of course the refurbished cost is gonna go up. So I think we'll wait with that a little bit longer as well. But the plan is pretty simple and straightforward. This is going to be a development season. Next season is probably also going to be a development season, and that one I might actually just cut down to one video. We'll have to see. But yeah, the goal here now is to just kind of power through, see what we can do. We do have a side pod design coming up, which we will take a look at. I believe this is just a development one that is focused on top speed. We do lose some high speed. But yeah, we are kind of developing still the car in the best way that we can, honestly. That's really all we can do. And honestly, as you can see here, we can sacrifice a bunch of engine cooling, get a potentially decent upgrade here. But again, financially, the cost here is something that we do need to consider. But we could do this. This would actually be a fairly good sideball. We get a decent chunk of top speed. Don't really lose much cornering. That honestly could work out. We can even sacrifice a little bit here, but yeah, I think this is what we'll do. It'll be basically final edition side pod most likely, but it seems to be a decent one, and we'll just make it normally to give ourselves a little bit of a boost down the line. But yeah, I think research is going to be the name of the game here. Of course, we can't do that yet because we haven't reached Baku, but name of the game is definitely going to be, again, research is definitely going to be name of the game once we get into it. So with the underflow design coming in 13 days, we have another front wing, another suspension, just a couple weeks away. We'll have a look at them before we make any, big changes. But for now, let's just go to Australia and see if we can snatch some more points from our 3 rival teams down here. Unfortunately, the game did not agree with me on this. As you can see here, we've been hit with a design freeze. Design projects are paused for 10 days. So the projects that were supposed to take 2 weeks, now it's going to take a little bit longer than that, 22 to, well, 42 days. And as you can imagine here, we would have liked to get a lot of these done before Baku. But that's going to be a little bit challenging now, I do believe, as Baku is, well, it's still far away. So we're still going to be able to make some of these paths if we need to. Yeah, Australia next. Let's see how we do. So Australia is going to be interesting. We qualified 6th and 9th, and we have Hamilton up in 2nd. We have Sonoda also being part of the mix here. So it's a weird world where Russell is 11th and the other Mercedes is 2nd. And honestly, I don't know how we are going to deal with this situation. But yeah, we're going to have to just try and make the best out of it. Now, as I probably mentioned last time around, these early races are our best chance at scoring points because we're going to be focusing on research towards the end of the season. So we kind of do need a healthy lead. Yeah, well, getting there. In terms of strategy around this place, one stoppers are very common. Two stoppers can work, but are going to need probably a little bit extra work. So what I am thinking here is that we just do the boring one stopper, if you will. And honestly, doing that isn't necessarily anything difficult. Starting on a soft tire, running like this, and as you can see, it's going to be 5 seconds quicker than this one, although just doing something like this is going to make this one too quite a lot quicker, potentially a good 9 seconds, as you can see. So yeah, right now, medium hard, a lot faster than anything else we can offer. And going attack at the end there could actually be fairly beneficial in its own right. And if we try and do something even maybe a little bit cheekier, like say we start on the hard, we go full attack into say 2 soft tires, is it possible to make that viable? Probably, but what I think is going to be the main concern with doing something like this is just straight up the fact that we aren't going to be able to have the gaps really to make it work. And what I mean by that is pretty straightforward and simple. The gaps will not be available to us simply because we are going to be pitting, we're going to come out in traffic, and we're going to get stuck. So I think we're going to do a very boring medium to hard here. It's going to be, honestly, probably faster. We could, of course, do something with the medium here, like try and stretch the soft a little bit. That is doable. Run the softs more aggressive towards the end of its life cycle. We have options there, but honestly, this is still probably going to be quicker. So we're going to give that a go. And honestly, we're going to do that for both boys, which means that we now will have soft tires available if there are any incidents. It is Australia. Having tires available could definitely benefit us. Staying out long on the first stint could also benefit us. So let's try that and see what we can do. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's see if it works out for us, or if we end up further back than 6th and 9th. And after a pretty poor start from us, there's immediately a bit of a incident here, as the Williams cars have had a bit of an incident involving each other, where one takes out the other one, which is incredibly unfortunate for them, but it is the nature of the racing. We were asked to see down to 12th and 13th before this. And there is already a pretty sizable gap up to the front, which is not really good for us. There is a virtual safety car at the moment, which is going to cause some problems. But honestly, the other cars here have used their tires quite a bit more than us. Honestly, Hamilton, Stroll hasn't really, but it is what it is. The Sovereigns are going to be pitting early, so hopefully we can still make something out of this, but it's probably going to be a bit sad here because these passive strategies really do make you suffer, particularly early on. Let's see if we can make a comeback towards the end of this race. So as it turns out here, we might be doing a little bit of a nasty strategy at the moment because currently a lot of the cars in front of us have started pitting. Russell, Alonso, Sainz, not really Piastri, but you get the idea. Some of these cars in front, with the exception of the Red Bulls, have actually been collected by us after they have pitted, and we are intending to stay out for at least another, not exactly 10 laps, but at least 7 or 8. And because we are DRS training off each other, we're actually capable of running down their tires a little bit. And since we're planning to run full on attack towards the end, us kind of, trapping these guys in a DRS train could benefit us, but it could also really, really backfire in the sense that we don't wear down the tires enough, and they end up getting a little bit of an advantage. But right now, we're on the same tire. We are wearing their tires down. The question is, can we keep them behind? I think it's going to be a little bit difficult, particularly as they ran side by side getting into that corner. But we are... Two-man DRS trains are extremely powerful because you have your teammate to kind of act as a little bit of a defense, although Gasly has been overtaken and will definitely be trying to use him to get that spot back. It's we can definitely slow down some of our rivals this way, and hopefully it'll help us when we do end up pitting ourselves. So we'll see what we can do here. Unfortunately, Alonso is incredibly quick, which shouldn't come as a surprise. He is on fresher tires, and honestly, if he pulls us along here, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but already he's almost pulled a full second ahead. So these tires are definitely kind of, you know, singing on the last verse. With that said, though, we are going to go full attack now and just push what we can on them, and then we'll pit as soon as possible. We now have a safety car, and unfortunately we have already pitted. It's actually the two Aston Martins that have come together here, and honestly, this might be a chance for us to jump into the pits again. Because the fact Rick at least is going to be pitting. Honestly, on second thought, nah, we're gonna have to stay out. But it's gonna help you know, get everyone back together again. But yeah, I would love to pit here. I don't think we can. It's just a bit unfortunate that this didn't happen earlier.
Yeah, idiot just dive-bombed me.
That is a broken engine. So the Asses are already in huge trouble here. This is the third race, and they definitely have two completely total cars. The Williams pair
safety car
did not crash as hard as Stroll and Alonso. And we actually do see Verstappen pitting here. Let's see how many are going to be pitting and what tire percentage they're at, because we could actually be seeing here some of the others pitting as well. So the question now becomes, do we go for a fresh soft tire? I can imagine that Rick will. I can imagine that no one else behind will. Maybe Hulkenberg. I think we have to just stay out here and deal with the hard tire. Going on a soft and running it light might have actually been a better choice there, honestly. But yeah, I think we just have to stay the course at this moment. What we could do is get Ocon in, put him on a soft tire to change things up a little bit. But that would be about it here. Let's see, does Hamilton 2-pit? No. Piastri, I don't think he is going to be pitting, so we'll be getting that place back for free. I think what we do here is just stay out, honestly. Because as mentioned, Rick is going to pit, Hulkenberg might pit, but I don't think anyone else here is going to be pitting. But I do want to see how long is the softs going to be alive for. It's going to be alive till the end here, as you can see. So if we do pit Ocon, we are going to maybe save a little bit of time, but at the same time, it's going to cost us, I think, too many positions for it to even matter. 15 seconds is what you say with a virtual safety car, so I think the correct choice is just to stay out with both cars. We're saying, as I said here, Piastri pit, Rick, Hulkenberg. We actually see Bottas pit as well. So, more cars than I expected did pit, so we could actually pit at Ocon there and been fairly safe. But even then, I still think this is going to be the best choice, unfortunately. We're going to be pressured from behind, of course, but we have Magnussen and we have Norris on somewhat used softs. We have Leclerc and Hamilton heading used softs as well. We might still be able to make something out of this, but yeah, I definitely would have preferred to pit one of the cars. But as mentioned, didn't expect all of them to pull the plug like that. But yeah, let's see what we can do here. Speed things up, get to the restart as it is. And I still think we can make something happen from this, even though we're the only team on hard tires at the moment. "15 laps. We will be able to run full attack, no problem. And the safety car is now ending. Of course, we're going to go push. We're going to go deploy. And hopefully this is going to allow us to at least stick with the cars ahead. because they are quite a lot faster than us. I'd honestly say that we are probably the 5th or even the 6th fastest team because the Williams were incredibly quick around here. And there's a crash. What, another one?
And here we've got a yellow flag.
Crash under safety car restart? Yeah. Did he like lock up or something? That's a very, very weird one from Hulkenberg. That's an incredibly weird one, but yeah, nothing we can do with that. We're still running 7th and 8th, chasing down Ferraris, Mercedes, and the Red Bulls. Let's see if we can get a good result from this one. We're going to be pushing for at least a couple of laps here before we probably turn down the energy usage. And Rick did pick up a 5-second penalty there. Not too surprising when he pulls that out off under what is technically still safety car. But you can already see here we're falling a second behind the pack. Well, Sainz is also to some degree. But we're definitely being a bit slower than the 6 cars ahead. But even so, let's do our best to catch up to them. And we've had yet another incident. This time Piastri. Not sure exactly what happened. Let's have a look. Oh, he locks up and he wasn't too far off there actually taking out his teammate again. If he locked up a little bit closer to Norris, he probably would have taken him out. And that would have been the 3rd team-on-team violence incident of this race. That would have been amazing. But yeah, Gasly, Ocon, they're still doing their thing. Challenging a little bit here. But as you can see, with 3.5 seconds, we are pretty rapidly here falling behind the top teams. Not really much we can do there. And honestly, if we'd been on the soft tires, we might have had a chance. Honestly, I should have just gambled. But I opted for playing it safe here to get the points for 7 and 8. Which, again, is kind of what we're hoping for this year. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's see if we can hold on to these positions until the end of the race. We are nearing the end of the Grand Prix here, and while we caught up a little bit to Sainz and Hamilton here, it hasn't really paid off. Russell is currently running 2nd with Paris in tow, but he is most likely going to take that 2nd place as things stand, and he does. Leclerc comes in 4th, Hamilton comes in 5th. Sainz comes in 5th, Hamilton 6th. And then we have us with Norris and Magnussen finishing off the points after the problems that were caused by crashes. But yeah, that's not good for us. Mercedes scoring this many points here. They ended up scoring a good 26. We only scored 10. That's, as I said, fairly negative. Ferrari as well did a good job. And unfortunately for us, we couldn't really capitalize in this race that did have a lot of incidents. We're still 2nd place though, but Mercedes and Ferrari are both catching up. Aston Martin didn't score any points luckily. And as I mentioned here, the goal is just to get 4th to keep the board happy, and then do what is going to probably be just another season of research. Our picker is doing well though with the 2 fastest stop of the race, and we are going to keep on developing them. And honestly, it's looking a-okay. We're also giving Hajar some practice here in Ocon's car, and I'm probably going to keep on doing that as a bit of a end of the year driver academy training. But we'll see if he becomes good enough to take Ocon's seat. I kind of doubt it, but it'll be a fun little side project. For now though, we are going to develop the car. We have underfloors, suspension, front wing. We'll have to see exactly if we put them in the car, if we do them for experience. Both are pretty much viable. But yeah, the car is starting to run a little ragged there on the gearbox, a little ragged on the engine. And honestly, we might need to maximize both of these a little bit in terms of when we switch car parts in order to score points. So we'll have to see. Yeah, Baku is up here in just a few weeks' time. Actually, basically, as long as it takes until F1-24, 22 days. Yeah, we can continue our designs. Let's see here what we actually get done. Car development report, 10th, 9th, 13th. So as you can imagine here, we are struggling a little bit. Dirty air is also a bit of a concern, but honestly at 60%, it's mostly negated. But yeah, just on the virtue of cornering, we're probably the 5th or even 6th best team in the competition. That is hurting us quite a bit, and that is mainly just weight based, so that's a bit of a problem. Adaptability for Ocon, braking for Gasly and for HR, cornering, as well as a couple of points in reactions. So we'll have to see if he can catch up to Ocon in the coming 2 seasons. I do kind of doubt that, but at least we can hope. Now, as I mentioned here, we're going to keep on developing the pit crew. We're going to have to get a killer one by the time we get the regulation changes going. So we'll just get that sorted. We are currently under 10% here on the chance of mistake. Try and get the pit stop time down to, I think, 2.5 seconds. Then we'll take 2% off here, 10th off here, and probably keep that going while we keep car building where it is. I think that's going to be a acceptable way of doing things, honestly. So that's going to be the goal. Let's see if I can pull it off. So here we are. This is what we opted for in terms of training. It's going to keep us fresh for both Baku and also Miami. 9% here to 0. That's acceptable going into the race weekend. That's honestly fine. So that's what we're going for. And in terms of totals here, we do increase our chance of mistakes slightly, lose a little bit of pit stop time, and gain a little bit of car building. So I think this is acceptable, but as you can see, we do lose a couple of points there. But again, no big deal. Those can be regained fairly easily. In terms of the car here now, we are going to get the designs completed, 3 in a row. The underfloor 4 here is going to be one that gives us cornering in exchange for top speed. We probably do want to use this one, honestly, because we can... Basically, what we can do here is use this underfloor, and in exchange, we can find top speed elsewhere, where it's kind of harder to come by. So, let's just see here, if we were to design a new underfloor, would it be anything, that we would benefit from? Would there be a point to doing that? And honestly, I would doubt it. But yeah, we could actually continue doing this. We'd get a little bit of that top speed back. We get a little bit more cornering. But generally, as you can see, we're not really getting any huge gains from developing our underfloor any further. So we're going to go ahead and cancel that project. But I do believe that manufacturing this underfloor would be beneficial. Even though the cornering here gains here are kind of minimal, it's still very, very important to have cornering. So we might end up manufacturing this one just so we can switch between them for places where we need top speed more than we need cornering, or places where we need cornering more than we need top speed, so we can switch between these two floors. So we're going to go ahead here and get a couple of them made for the time being. We're not going to be using this one in Baku because top speed is far more important there, but it's, as I mentioned, probably something we'll use in the future. Now, because of the fact that regulation changes are virtually upon us, we get the regulation vote here, regulation changes, or the research period starts here, a little bit over a week. I think we're going to keep this design slot open for the time being, and that's probably something we'll do with the other design slots as well, because as I said here, we don't have a car that's, capable of fighting for anything better than top 4 to begin with, so that is kind of what we'll go for. Now this is a nice one, a little bit more medium speed. We lose a slight amount of low speed, high speed, and brake cooling. That is acceptable. And if we take a look here, if we try and design another one, what are we looking at in terms of gains and losses? We'll just take a very quick look at that. And honestly, we could probably make this one. It would actually be far more beneficial to make this one than the one that we currently have. 10, 11, and 4, as well as some top speed. Yeah, I think we sacrifice some brake cooling. We're going to do this design, and that's probably going to be our final suspension, honestly. Because it's against and everything, and we do need to get as much cornering as we can. So I'm fine with this one. We'll let it run 40 days. We don't really need to stress too much about our designs currently. Getting another suspension out there is definitely advisable. And if you consider this, we're just getting a lot more cornering in exchange for a little bit less top speed. So I'm happy with that. Because we're making a arguably better one, I'm probably not going to develop this one. So keep the one that we have for the time being. Okay, we have one more thing going, and then we'll have a look. We can vote for moderate or minimal regulation changes. This one is pretty straightforward. We either lose 10% to everything or 5% to everything. We would like to nerf our rivals as much as possible, so we'll vote 10% to everything. And hopefully that does go our way. So yeah, this is a front wing that is fairly, a fairly huge gain here, 7.5% in brake cooling, but it's also the one where I made a mistake that was pointed out last time. As you can see, the weight here is not the correct way, so we can't use this front wing anyways. So we're gonna go ahead and maybe make a new one. We'll see here. Have to turn up the weight, then see if we can actually make something that would be, you know, actually usable. So if we do this, we get small gains across the board. We could actually do this. This would be kind of funny. A high-speed front wing, which is honestly where we are mostly lacking. So it could actually be a pretty good idea to do this. Maybe even lower a little bit so we don't lose low-speed cornering. And yeah, I think we'll do this. Again, it's just a lot more cornering. Well, it's not a huge amount of cornering, but it's a significant amount. And already the cornering on this one is just 61%. So yeah, let's go ahead and make this front wing too. And I think that's going to be it for, again, just the pieces this year. Side pods, suspension, front wing, all these are going to be used on the car. And with that, I think we'll be very, very happy. Wind tunnel concern now. We're going to go ahead and approve the investigation. It just is more beneficial, I feel, just get the problem solved if it is. And it's just 6 days. We don't have any stress with our parts. So we're going to go ahead here and allow that research to happen. Now, underfloor here is in low stock, so let us take a quick look here. We are currently manufacturing underfloor, so we can't actually change them out. But as mentioned, we're going to be switching between the two types of underfloor depending on race weekend, I think. But for now, we're going to head to the sprint weekend in Baku. And hopefully we can, you know, get a good result. Before that, why don't we take a look at the regulation vote. The research season, the research period has begun. And as you can see, did indeed discover a fault that could have escalated over time, so a good choice this time around. And yeah, we can now start things going again. Alright, so we did actually get what we wished for, which was a -10 to everything, because the AI is bad at research. We kind of need to nerf them as much as possible. And this is literally one of the only paths that we can take. We're still affected by that temporary shutdown, however. So we'll just do one more day. I wish I could, but we did 2 days. But it is what it is. And since everything is going to get hit by 10%, we're going to go ahead and work quite a lot on, you know, just straight up research this this year. Honestly, we're going to minimize probably a little bit of research into engine cooling, but we're going to try and get everything done to at least the car part expertise reduction, and then further boost it from there. So we'll just get started with chassis here, pretty straightforward, but as I mentioned, once these 3 parts are done, we're going to be doing research only. So with that out of the way, Baku is finally upon us. Let's see if we can score some points in another race that could be safety car heavy. So one of the first incidents in the Baku Sprint is actually Verstappen, who locks up and almost collects the Aston, but he is now out. And honestly, that's bad news for us because we kind of want the Red Bull to be there to score the points for first and second, as that limits the amount of points for everyone else. But yeah, Verstappen is out. And currently we have Paris running first with Alonso and Stroll in tow, as well as Leclerc, Hamilton, and Sainz. And we're running 7th and 8th. So it's not terrible by any means of the imagination, but the Astons here could definitely get a little bit of a recovery going after their incidents in Australia. And honestly, that probably helps a little bit by the fact that if we take a look at the lap history here and the car condition, let's have a look at Leclerc, for instance, 56, 49, 68. And if we compare it to, say, Stroll, who has a complete fresh set of parts, and on the same with Alonso, who also has a completely fresh set of parts, they do have a little bit of an advantage here just simply because they are using fresh parts versus worn parts. So we could actually see them have a pretty good result here. And honestly, I might go ahead and switch out some parts for Miami just so we can have a little bit of an advantage. And then we might have to go back to, you know, worse parts later on. But we'll see what we can do there, hopefully. But 6th and 7th and 8th, sorry, is what we're running at. And hopefully we'll be able to improve before the end of the sprint. We'll have to wait and see, though. And we now have a red flag, as Hulkenberg has had a little bit of a
There's the contact.
A little bit of an incident
That would
there
have
in the
knocked their
wall, and
confidence,
he's
I'm
blocked off
sure.
2 cars. And as you can imagine, we're gonna need a red flag
While all that
to
was happening-
fix that. Luckily for us, though, we've already used kind of all of our energy and everything we had. Made it up to 6th with Gasly. Ocon still 8th, but we made a slight improvement. The unfortunate thing here, though, is that we're probably going to have to use another soft tire to be competitive. Not too bad for Gasly, as he still has 2 spares, but for Ocon, that's not necessarily going to be a good thing. But yeah, using a fresh soft tire here is a no-brainer, and it's going to make actually the sprint quite interesting here, as we have that virtual safety car that saved us fuel, and now we've
Let's
had
get
this
sprint
incident.
underway once more.
So yeah, Aston in the lead, Paris in 2nd place.
It's lights
And
out, and away we go.
yeah, this is gonna make things excuse me, a little bit more interesting, I think is the best way to put it. Gasly in 6th, Ocon in 9th, now 8th. Gasly actually did get a car there on the launch, which is Hamilton, and he is now gonna give everything that he has to chase down the rest of it. Confidence isn't super high, so I'm kind of not wanting to tune him up, but as you can see here, Hamilton is kind of coming back. Ocon has reclaimed his 8th place, and with just 5 laps to go here, a plenitude of fuel and energy, we're going to have probably a bit of a fight until the end, as Hamilton has once again come back and taken that place, but that shouldn't really be too much of a surprise. Honestly, the Mercedes is a lot faster than us, so it's not a big surprise that it does get the overtake done. But with DRS later on, I think we can get that back, and he is falling far enough behind here that he is going to be vulnerable, most likely, to DRS. So, all in all, not too bad right now. We also have gotten Sainz, so let's see how this goes. Everyone except Russell is on fresh tires. But I do believe Gasly is going to get the move done now, and if not, we're just going to have to recharge the energy a little bit. And with the DRS now on the straight, we should be in a position to maybe make a move, but honestly, we can also just slow down a little bit behind it, do a little bit of harvesting, allow Ocon to kind of catch up and get a little bit of DRS protection himself, do a little bit of recharge, then we can launch a new attack. Although Gasly did immediately fall back a little bit further than we are comfortable. So we do need to stay within DRS to, you know, keep this viable, and right now we are failing that, so hopefully we can catch up again on the straight. I think we will, but yeah, we're struggling. We are pretty much the 5th or even 6th fastest car, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem for us. And the sprint has another twist here. 3 laps to go, and we now have a safety car. Is it Magnussen? It is.
Possibly.
Magnussen has crashed on the same turn that Verstappen did, I believe. No, it's a different one. My bad. Straight into the wall there, and the safety car, I believe, is going to translate into this sprint ending under said safety car, with us finishing 6th and 7th most likely. But we'll see. Maybe we get like 1
Stay positive on the delta.
lap of racing, but honestly I doubt it. This is safety car would have gone in.
Positive as you can.
So yeah, sprint's gonna end in a safety car. We're gonna get
One more lap,
6th
one more
and
lap.
7th here. Let's see if we can get a better result, if you will, during the race itself. The race itself here in Baku starts off with a virtual safety car, basically immediately here at the end of the first lap. It's once again Hulkenberg,
A bit too hard at this point.
and I believe he just locks. Oh, it's not even him. It's the Alfa Romeo that caused it, and that's a pretty bad hit. That was a terrible hit. That's going to be very costly. And
VSC.
yeah, that's not great. Both
Stay
both
just
cars
positive on
out
that delta.
there. Now, Alonso did have a penalty because he did, you know, go bowling last race. So he did start a little bit further down, but he did win the sprint. And Schumacher there did eat a bit of a penalty for his lockup, so he'll be penalized next race as well. But yeah, currently Gasly's running 6th, Ocon's running 8th, and we opted for 2 different strategies here. Very aggressive 2-stopper for both cars, as it's going to be probably the fastest thing we can do. For Ocon, who only has 1 soft tire, we'll use it at the end. For Gasly, who has 2, we'll be using it after the medium, as we're kind of trying to do a bit of a longer first stint. and hopefully that will play to our strengths. Virtual safety car is
It's
ending
ending.
in a place that might be beneficial for us. Honestly, probably not. It ended up mostly in the middle of a kind of a straight, so not really beneficial for us, but did hurt Hamilton way more than it did our cars. I guess it's all right. But yeah, we're going to try and see if this strategy works out for us. We can only hope. And we'll do our best here to improve our positions from the sprint itself. And for the race itself, we also have a safety car into a red flag. Never mind, it went immediately a little bit further than that. Now, this is basically when we were supposed to pit anyways, so it's not necessarily a bad thing for us, but it's also not a positive thing. And from this stage, people can actually go for the hard tire till the end. But I still think that there is an option here for doing the aggressive strategy, so that's what we're going to do. We do need to use 2 compounds, so it's kind of risky to not switch over here, honestly. But I think we might put Gasly on the same strategy that we are currently running with Ocon, although the better option here might be to run the soft light till the end. So we'll put Gasly on the soft here, and then we'll see what we can do. And we're doing, again, a little bit of a different strategy, but it is what it is. Show here is out. We don't know exactly what happened to him.
Not for
But
the first time today,
could be
the
something
drivers
similar
are
to
lined up,
Hulkenberg.
awaiting the lights.
All right.
It's lights out, and away we go.
We're going to have to do a couple of things before we get going. And that is figuring out what is the best course of action for our team right now. Now, as I said, we could do something with Gasly where we turn the softs into light and run that till the end. That is actually very, very viable. And it's going to be about 12 seconds slower than if we run attack, attack. But that also does kind of, come with the... basically, this comes with the expectation. That's the word I'm looking for. That you're running in clean air, that you're not going to lose time battling other cars. And that's something that you're going to have to try and figure out yourself. And in our case, if we pit very early, again in, 15, 16, 17 laps time, are we going to be able to make it till the end? That's going to be the big one for Gasly, but it's also going to be the big one for Ocon. And I'm very curious here, if we go onto a medium tire, can we just run it standard till the end? We can. I don't want to destroy our current strategy, so we use a fresh one instead. We can't actually run the medium till the end, now I think about it, because, well, we need to use 2 compounds. That idea just goes straight out the window. We're going to have to do this anyways. That's what the warning was about. Not that I was about to override my strategy, which I assumed it was. But yeah, we're going to have to do this for Ocon. There's just no way around it. Now, in terms of tires, hard tires on 4 cars means that they're taking these tires till the end. Mediums can also be taken till the end here, but I think what we do here is we gamble. We could gamble with gas here, just run him light, but I think 2-stopper might be very, very viable. We have a Verstappen down in 11th, switch between 2 hard tires, so I think we gamble. We keep Gasly and Ocon where they are. I want to go a little bit aggressive here, see what we can do. And as I mentioned, if the other teams are planning to take their tires till the end, they're going to be taking care of them as soon as this first lap is done. So I think we have some chances getting this done. So that is why I still think it is doable. Let's see if I'm wrong, though. I could very well be, and I could be throwing away some points. But I think this is the best chance that we have for scoring a lot more points than just, 6th and 7th, 5th and 7th. So we'll give this a go. We're getting very close to the end of the race here, with just 4 laps remaining. And the question is, did our gamble pay off? Honestly, kind of, but Gasly did have high degradation than expected. And putting him on a medium similar to Ocon probably would have benefited him more, as well as pitting Ocon a little bit earlier, to be fair. But because we pitted him late, we are currently looking at fastest lap, which would be nice. And currently we are running a couple of seconds or 1.5 seconds quicker than most of the cars ahead of us. So Gasly here could potentially catch up to Sainz and Russell as Hamilton snatched his fastest lap and is actually catching up to us. So maybe we made a bit of a mistake here. We'll have to see. Hamilton is running more one tires than us, and as you can see, they did take pretty decent care of the tires. But would it have been a better choice to just go for staying out? Yeah, it would have. I'm pretty sure it would have, but it's always fun to take some risks. Sometimes you kind of have to, and honestly, this was a good chance for it. We still do have a chance of getting the Merc with at least one car. We have Hamilton here kind of helping us. We are saving a little bit of energy at the moment, but I think if we want to do this, we're going to have to clear Hamilton now with the help of DRS, and if we do not, we're going to get Hamilton here with high overtake aggression. If we do not, we're going to end up in a situation where Hamilton gets DRS from Sainz, and then that overtake is going to become pretty much impossible. So we're going to need Gasly here to be a little bit brave on the brakes, get the move done, because as mentioned, looks like Hamilton is getting into that DRS zone, and that is going to make an overtake very, very difficult here. So let's see what we can do now on the straight, but hopefully we can get it done. We should have more top speed than them, but energy is of course going to be a bit of a concern here, as you might expect. And as you can see, Hamilton gets his wing open, but we are a little bit faster, so we still do have a chance here, probably on the straight now. Probably going to be our last chance, as we do have, again, more speed than the Merc, but him getting help from Sainz there is not going to help our course at all. So most likely here, we did end up losing out, getting 9th and 10th instead of a potential 5th and 6th maybe. But it's hard to judge. If we had gone for taking care of our tires, we would have been way slower, and that probably would have been its own can of worms. But yeah, even so, decent attempt here from our boys, and hopefully we can get Sainz here. Nope. So we're gonna have to deploy now on the final, I think, chance of getting that overtake done.
Copy.
And we might actually get a double here. Nope, we're just getting Sainz, and honestly, that's fine. That's a couple of extra points, but with the Mercedes boys right in front of us, I can't really feel like it's a win. It's more like damage limitation, if you will. But Aston Martin is definitely looking good this year. The Ferraris are looking meh, one good, one bad, so it's still up in the open, but
Perez has crossed the
you know,
line
component
first.
wear is a bit of a concern. And I think we might do a full switch going into Miami. Use fresh components and then use, you know, bad components again once everyone is using their good ones. I think that might be a good shout this early in the season, but we might also just stick to what we're doing to just keep things a little bit easy. But yeah, Verstappen here did make one insane comeback back up into 2nd place after this crash in the sprint. And 8th and 10th is not what we were hoping for here. So yeah, I think that is 2 teams ahead of us, and it is. We're now down in 4th. It's a single point ahead of Ferrari, but this could be a close fight. We'll just have to see, though. It's going to be potentially not a very happy board at the end of this year. We'll have to do our best, though. But now let's see what Miami has to offer. So after thinking about our position and the fact that we do need to score some points early on, and we have 4 teams currently that are very, very close to each other, I decided that we are going to have to do a little bit of a cheeky here. We're going to go ahead and install a new engine and a new gearbox here for both cars from Miami, basically until they're worn out. And the logic here is very simple. We want to use our fresh components when our opponents are using their worn ones, and we want to use our worn components for when our opponents are using their fresh ones. Basically, we want to maximize the points we can get when we are using well, basically maximize points based on our opponents, you know, components. And in this case, most of them will be using 1-1s. Aston Martin is, of course, going to be a exception to this because they have had to switch new components. But I don't think this is the best we could have done, honestly. But I think we're in such a desperate position because of the fact that our car is a piece of shit, that we kind of have to try and get a couple extra points over the next 2-3 races by just doing it like this. We're not going to be switching back and forth between each you know, each practice session in quali. We are going to be keeping these paths on going forwards, and we'll have to use up the this engine, the gearboxes later on. But I want to try and maximize the points that we can get right now, and I think this is a good way to get that done. So with that said, I'm going to get qualifying done, and then we'll see where we stack up for the race itself. Miami has started all right here,
He's just given a
but we
thumbs up
have
for the car.
yet another safety car, and this time it is Bottas and the AlphaTauri of, I believe that's Ricardo, has had a bit of a moment. And is Bottas Alfa Romeo undrivable? Did he break his suspension? I would assume that is what's happening. Yeah, he's out. So that is the cause of the safety car. A lot of cars are going to be pitting here. All of these soft runners. We opted for starting on the hard tire to be a little bit cheeky. But this is going to mess things up pretty badly in the sense that we are going to have to pit here. And the Mercedes is going to be able to pit safely, but we are not going to be able to pit safely. Most cars here are just a little bit too close to each other. So if we double stack, we're going to lose a couple of positions, which is going to suck. So we're going to have to figure out what we want to do in terms of strategy. So we are going to go into a medium tire. That much is for certain. And while we could take that medium tire till the end, that's not really recommended. Simply because of the fact that if we want to do that, it's going to cost us. That's the best way I can put it. It's going to cost us quite a bit. So what might be better is that we do something like this. So we go a bit more aggressive on the medium, we go light on the soft. And we're going to go ahead and see what if we do that the other way around. We go more aggressive on the soft tire towards the end. Would that be faster? They're basically kind of equivalent in terms of strategy. So I kind of think doing aggressive medium would be better. Try and get something done. Maybe go full attack towards the end. Then mess around with the soft tire. Let's face it, if we stay out and go for the one stopper, it's not necessarily a terrible thing. But this is basically a free pit stop, so it would be silly not to take it. I think the play here is going to be very simple. We're going to have to double stack. There's just no way around it. It's very unfortunate for us. Very beneficial here for the Mercedes who have, again, all these cars started on soft tire. Benefits them more than it benefits us. But it is the unfortunate reality here that staying out is just going to be very, very detrimental for us. And luckily for us, it actually went directly into a red flag situation. So we're saved. The dilemma is a non-dilemma at this point. But yeah, that is basically just Bottas' car's suspension being broken, and he being unable to get off the racetrack. Okay, so I think what we do is still the same kind of strategy here. We're going to have to jump over to a medium. Again, the hard tire owners here could make a hard, work till the end. I doubt they're going to do that, though. Let's be honest. We could also do two softs here, where we run them light for both stints. And honestly, I do kind of like that idea. So we might do that, or at least start with running the soft light here. We're going to be able to, get that back. Shouldn't be a big deal. So that is what we're going to be gambling on here.
Red flag.
Yeah, Alonso, Stroll, both of them have been quick so far this race. And honestly, we might end up finding the Ferraris rather than the Mercedes if things keep going as they have. So it's a bit of a weird situation we find ourselves in, where Mercedes has not imploded like they usually do, and instead we're kind of seeing a little bit more weakness from the Ferrari boys instead. Okay, so most cars here have opted for kind of the same thing we're doing. Soft tires, a couple of medium runners, one hard runner. So all these teams here, with the exception of Magnussen, have said we're going to do at least one more pit stop. So I want to see here, what is the best we can do with this soft tire? Because again, I do believe that running it light is going to be more beneficial. And it is going to allow us to do another soft tire towards the end for both cars if we wish. So I think that is going to, work out more to our advantage. But I just want to have a quick look here and see what we can do. If we can do something, you know, a little bit better, like say run full attack medium at the end. Is that going to be faster? It's going to be faster by about 1 second, but we have so much soft tire available here that we can probably get that second back. But I think we'll just run light. We go for another soft after that, and we'll just do something similar for Gasly. And again, staying out long here is going to be very beneficial because we could still have more crashes. So we'll try and manage our tires here and see where we're at once we get to that next pit stop, as Sainz here is kind of fighting us immediately, and Bottas does eat a penalty for that red flag. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting rest of the race here. Hopefully we can at least hold on to 9th and 10th. But yeah, it's I'm a little bit worried for the season to come here. I don't think we're going to be able to achieve the board objective, and genuinely this is probably a little bit more challenging than I anticipated. But let's see how Miami goes first. We should be able to get something out of it if we manage. Everyone else eating up their tires is going to mean they're going to be way slower for the second half of the stint. So I think we are still going to be able to get something out of this by running light. So we have a fairly interesting thing happening here with Verstappen now pitting on what was 18% tires and him falling backwards pretty rapidly. Currently, there's just 5 laps remaining here. We have Gasly up into 8th position here, trying to chase down Hamilton. And we have Ocon in 10th, trying to chase down Norris. But honestly, Hamilton is really the best we can hope for here, I think, for both cars. Unless we gamble and going full attack till the end, which honestly, I think we can kind of try and do here. And it's probably the best option that we have available to us to try and get a little bit extra points here. Because if we can catch Sainz, we can catch Russell. And that would honestly pay off massively if we did. As Gasly uses DRS here to overtake Hamilton. As you can see, a lot of their cars here are struggling a little bit. The tires are starting to go. So us being aggressive could definitely be could definitely benefit us here if we can get these overtakes done in a swift and clean fashion. Now for Gasly, he was about half a second faster there than Sainz, so don't really have enough laps here to catch him. But Ocon could potentially catch up to Hamilton, and Ocon, if we do play our cards right here. So we'll give him a little bit of a deploy now, as he is getting very, very close to that back straight with the long DRS section. So he should be able to get past there. And we are actually catching up fairly rapidly over the course of this lap. And if we take a look now at how far behind we are, we got a good 2 seconds there, but let's face it, Russell and Sainz were both very, very slow. But if they do that for us another lap, that would be quite amazing. But yeah, we're currently fighting for some points. Let's see if we can get a little bit further up before the end here. But honestly, I think this is going to be how most of this season is going to be looking. We're going to be fighting for 6th, 7th, and 8th with some teams that is basically going to be quite hard to, you know, win that fight with. But it's honestly the best we can do. Nothing too much to really do about it. We could probably slow Gasly down a little bit here with a little bit of harvesting. Honestly, I don't want to. Ocon is close enough here that he should be able to close down that gap on his own. And if we slow down Gasly, then we're basically saying that we're giving up 5th place. So I think we're just going to allow him to run as he is at the moment. And Ocon has gotten DRS. He is within striking distance of Hamilton. And honestly, that's going to slow Hamilton down a little bit here. Tire-wise, everyone is kind of suffering. Alonso's about to hit sub 30, percent. But that shouldn't have any bearing on the result. Aston is still going to most likely win this one, as Ocon now is trying to pull a interesting move on Hamilton. And with DRS now, should just be straight up sailing past, I would think. That is exactly what he is going to do. And for this final lap here, we actually have Gasly looking at both Russell and Sainz. So could be a bit of an interesting ending here, potentially.
Post required from our side at the moment.
And we're going to try and make the best out of this. We're going to give Gasly a good old high overtake aggression, as his confidence has reached a peak here. As going along with the softs definitely has paid off to our advantage. Our advantage till the end. I think that's basically how we're going to have to play this. Maximum weight can't go very aggressive unless it's on a hard tire, really. And I think that is just how things are going to have to have to be played, is the best way I can put it. We're also going to have to be careful with fuel. We're about to run out. And for Ocon, he does have, potentially, it could maybe be a bit of an outsider for sure, but he might be able to send a insane lunge if he gets close enough. As we watch Gasly doing a double overtake there on the final straight with the helping of the RS. And yeah, that's pretty good, getting 5th place. We do beat both Mercedes, so honestly, a good result here. Leclerc takes the podium, 1-2 for the Astons. Perez in 4th, and Verstappen is kind of struggling here. So yeah, Red Bulls are not being as dominant as I want them to be, and that is going to probably hurt us over the course of this season. But it is what it is. Now, I've spent a lot of time so far, honestly, so we'll be speeding it up. But again, these races have been eventful. We've had safety cars that has decided kind of the standings. We've had red flags in all of them. So I do believe that's kind of fair. But yeah, 5th and 8th here is very much an acceptable result for us. Alonso gets his win. And we're down to 7th and 8th in the Constructors, which is honestly where we want to be if we're looking at, 4th in the standings. Unfortunately, though, we still lost a place here due to the fact that, both Aston and Ferrari improved their positions. But let's face it here, we're still very close to 4th. I don't think the board is going to be too upset. But I didn't expect that fight would be with Ferrari and Merc rather than, Aston and Merc. So let's see how this goes. Hopefully we can still have a good season and avoid being fired. Our next race in Italy gave us a 7th and 8th finish, beating both Mercedes car, allowing us to overtake them in the championship. Monaco gave us the same result with the added benefit of a double DNF from the Mercedes boys, and Barcelona unfortunately not really go our way with an 8th and 10th place finish, with Bottas pulling out a surprise 5th place finish. So by Canada, which we're about to go into actually today, we finally got the parts that we wanted done. So suspension, the side pods, and also the front wing. And we're going to be putting these parts on. The front wing again is mainly just high-speed cornering, but we'll take it. Honestly, any kind of cornering we can get is going to be good. We already have put the side pod on, which gives us mainly just a bunch more top speed in exchange for some of that cornering ability. And we only have one suspension available, but it's going to be enough that we can kind of get a good idea of what we can expect from this car from basically the rest of the season, as we have indeed switched over to a complete research setup here. And we've had another kind of negative event here where the design center needs to be shut down for 8 days, but it is what it is. We'll deal with it in, as best as we can. Now, with that said, if we take a look at the car here compared to the rest of the grid, we are going to be a little bit sad because, let's face it here, we are the fastest car on the grid. We have the best DRS. The, juxtaposition here by having the worst acceleration is kind of hilarious. But at the same time, the main thing here that is a bit concerning is our cornering ability. It is basically a 6 to 7th best team on the grid in terms of our ability to corner. And that is a huge weakness. That's mainly just, coming from the fact that we have a bunch of extra weight. But yeah, we're just going to have to try and do the best that we can for the remainder of the season to try and hold on to 4th place. So far, it's gone pretty well in the last 3 races. And if we take a quick look here at the standings, we actually have a pretty sizable lead on Mercedes, much thanks to them having that double DNF in Monaco. But honestly, I think we are going to end up fighting Mercedes for this. Aston Martin, Ferrari, both of them have just jumped so far ahead that they're no longer a player in this, if you will. So hopefully we can keep things going. We are doing very well. Our drivers are just 1 point between them. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. At least we are winning the fastest pit stop competition. We are leading that one. But for now, we are just going to try and power through the next 3-4 races here. Then we'll continue probably next time as we kind of have run out of time here. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a montage here, or rather a bit of a condensed version where I show kind of what we've done in terms of research project, kind of race results. You kind of probably saw that before this. So let me know what you think. It's probably a good way to kind of do an intermission between races that aren't interesting. a good way to probably summarize what I've been doing in terms of the research. Then we'll just take a look at the research result probably at the end of this. But yeah, we're going to go to Canada, and hopefully Canada will allow us to continue the good form that we have shown. So Canada is offering a bit of a rainy experience here, as Alonso is doing his best to kind of hold us up a little bit. But yeah, we have rain now in Canada, and getting the pit stops right here is probably going to be the difference between us being in the points and being out of them. It is going up fairly rapidly here, so what I think I'm going to do here is actually get Gasly in first for the Inters, and then we're going to get Ocon in next lap for the Inters. I don't want to double stack, they're a little bit too close to each other to make that work. And as you can see, Perez Sainz elected to continue going, so potentially here, Ocon could get lucky and get some overtaking done, although Verstappen is a little bit of a blocker right now that we kind of do need to clear to make that viable. Gasly comes out in 8th, same position as he entered, and honestly what we're going to do here now is just take care of these tires, make sure that they kind of make it till the end. And I'm curious exactly where Ocon is going to be coming out here. Is he going to be able to jump a couple of cars? Probably not by looks of it. Might jump Bottas, but that's about it. And honestly, actually does end up jumping Gasly too. So having Gasly stay out a little bit longer could allow us to jump Russell there, but 7th and 8th is still very acceptable. Let's see if we can hold on to this. The rain is expected to keep on going until the end of the race. So if there's no more pit stops, which is what we expect, then 7 and 8 is still an acceptable result for us. So by the looks of it, Canada has another twist for us, and that is a dry, potentially finish to this race. So what we're going to do is have both Gasly and Ocon do a little bit of pushing here. Gasly has actually just been overtaken because we're playing it a little bit too safe. And, well, hopefully here we can catch up to and overtake Stroll. Probably not going to catch up to Russell, but we can always pray. And we are going to have to try and be a little bit more aggressive here because of the fact that it is drying out. So using as much of this tire as possible is going to be quite important for that. And the others are also starting to do the same thing. So we'll have to see what we can do here as Gasly now falls down to 10th place. Not really having a good time here, but to be fair, he's still lacking one piece that Ocon has. But I do think that we are going to go a little bit more on the aggressive here. See if we can get a little bit of position back, honestly. We'll try to get that done. We're also going to turn Ocon down here with a little bit of conserve. Not going to do it for Gasly just yet, but we're going to have to try and manage the fuel as well if we end up, say, 5 dry laps towards the end. So this race is still open. For now, Gasly is going to try and get an overtake done. It's going to be difficult. Tire temps are going to be an issue, but I think we can get something done here. So we have reached a point now where there is no more rain expected. The sun is shining and the track is getting drier. The question is, when do we pull the trigger and jump in for our pit stop? And honestly, I think I'll delay Ocon by one more lap. But I think Gasly, who is struggling now, he's 3.5 seconds behind both Bottas and Hamilton. If we want to have any sort of chance with him, we're going to have to gamble and go a little bit early. It's still just not a little bit early, it's still really early. But I think it's early enough that we can take a little bit of a chance here and gamble on getting him in a little bit before everyone else. And probably should have delayed it by one more lap before we got him in, to be fair. But we'll have to see here now how he does on this outlap, if he catches up to anyone ahead of him, if he loses time. And right now he is losing quite a lot of time. So yeah, we definitely pulled the trigger a little bit too early there. Bottas and Stroll are in. So yeah, we should have pitted him this lap. I was a little bit too desperate there, probably a little bit too hopeful. But we'll see now where Gasly ends up, as Bottas has pitted and we're now 6.5 seconds behind. So yeah, probably should have waited at least one more lap before we pull that move. But it was a risk. It didn't work out, and that is just how things be sometimes, as Russell pits this lap. And we'll see exactly where Ocon now does come out, as Norris, Hamilton, and Sainz all still are on one tires. And unfortunately here we couldn't beat Stroll out. But we can probably catch up to him and overtake him by the end of this. And honestly, with a lot of cars still needing to pit, Ocon can still make something happen here, I do believe, as we get ahead of Hamilton. But we're not catching Russell. Gasly is at least back in the points, but it's going to be a rough end there to this GP. So unfortunately, I gambled with Gasly, did not work, but he is at least keeping Alonso at bay. Ocon is currently running 6th and does have Stroll hunting him, but it looks like we are going to be finishing 6th and potentially 10th here, which wouldn't be a terrible thing, honestly, but also not the best. Did we run out of fuel here before the line? We kind of did, I believe, but we did cross the line before that happened, so we're all fine. Yeah, 6th and 10th here, with Russell in 5th and Hamilton in 8th. Means that we are losing out quite a bit here to the Mercs, and unfortunately that is just how it's going to be sometimes. They gain 5 points on us, but it is generally just a result of me making a mistake when we pitted Gas. We probably could have gotten at least 1 more point if we pitted him at a better time. With that said, it has been a decent showing so far. We are still going to be struggling for the rest of the season to keep hold of that 4th place. And if we take a quick look now at what the board feels about my performance, they have high confidence. They're happy with the race performance. They're, happy with our previous objective. So maybe, just maybe, keep things going until the 26th season. We'll have to see. But now though, we have 3 more races on the docket today. At the very least, we're going to try and get Austria done. We can try and get the British GP done, and at least Hungary. We'll have to see if we have time for Belgium as well, but Hungary is probably going to be the last race of the day, so let's see how things stack up once we're done with Hungary. The Austrian Sprint starts off with Red Bull and Red Bull violence, as you can see here. We have Verstappen and Paris having crashed into each other, with Verstappen being the second car in the Kartoffel. And, well, that is 1 Red Bull out with some very severe damage. And the other Red Bull survives with minimal happenings. But let's be honest, that is not good for the Red Bull team going into this race weekend. And honestly, with Hamilton up in a podium position, it's not really good for us either. Norris has also had a pretty decent start here. He's up into 5th. But yeah, we'll have to see if we can do a bit of recovery here. But with a safety car now, I think we're still just gonna stick with our current strategy. It's the best thing we can do. And although we do have cars pitting here, I think we're gonna be lazy here, because if everyone pits, let's say everyone pits onto a fresh soft tire, I think that we'll be able to still take advantage of DRS and probably still stay ahead. They are going to be using their tires more than we are, so we're going to gamble on staying out. And honestly, I think that is going to be just fine. Very curious though how the order is going to be here. Hamilton definitely lost out in the pit stop, stays down into 7th. And yeah, you can see everyone did go for a fresh soft tire. Now, I'm very curious to see if we can actually hold on here on the restart. That's actually going to be very, very interesting. I don't think we will be, but we should at least be able to DRS of some of these faster cars behind, and hopefully still be able to keep a little bit of an advantage here. We did get some free overtaking, so hopefully it will benefit us in the end. Let's go on here, have push on the fuel, and I do believe still that we'll lose out, let's be honest. We're probably going to fall down the order a little bit behind the Ferraris, behind Alonso probably. I still think we'll be able to find Tsunoda, for instance, keep up with Hamilton somewhat. And as such, I think this isn't the most terrible thing we could have done to refuse to partake in that extra pit stop. As the restart now looms, let's see what we can do. I think we are going to go ahead and deploy, though, at least on this first lap before we get DRS. And already here you can see that the Ferrari is looking to attack, and it is attacking quite aggressively. But even while we're running a light, we are still staying ahead, although that's not true for that corner. But yeah, as I mentioned here, I do believe Sainz and Leclerc are going to have a fairly simple job of getting the overtakes done once everything starts out. But for the time being, we're still looking fine. So let's see here now how we look once we actually get DRS again. And I do believe that is going to be one of the key things to kind of keeping ourselves safe, if you will. We're going to go ahead and turn down the usage of ERS, energy. And hopefully the DRS is enough for us to keep the Ferraris at bay. The two-man DRS train now is going to pray that this is going to last till the end of the race. Let's see if it does. And there is another twist. We now have a virtual safety car. We've been able to hold on, and it goes into a full safety car. I think we're just going to stay out again, honestly. It's Magnussen this time, by the looks of it. They're going to show us how to come in together.
And here we've got
It's kind of a hard one to pick, though, because if we pit, then we could screw ourselves, because I have no idea. It's kind of hard to judge what the AI is going to do. Sometimes they'll pit under these circumstances, sometimes they will not. And that is a unfortunate moment for both of them. Yeah, we now have a full safety car. It's just, let's be honest here, it's not going to be a lot of laps after this.
Safety car.
Currently 6 laps or so remaining after the end of this one. And if everyone pits, yeah, as expected, they stayed out.
A little bit of brake temperature in, that'll be good.
With this safety car, we'll be able to go more aggressive at the end there anyways, so it'll be fine. We're also closer now in terms of the tire delta, 13% as compared to 20 before. So we could have a very surprise 1-2 in the sprint here due to us electing to staying out and DRS being extremely helpful, which would be kind of a fun little side project here. Yeah, let's see what we do here now on the restart. We'll just speed along until we get there. And honestly, each lap the safety car stays out, that is one more lap where we are blessed, if you will. And with 21 laps, we're at 21. We're going to go to 22, meaning that once we cross the finish line this time around, there is just going to be 3 laps remaining. 3 laps remaining. We're going to be pushing all that we can here to try and take advantage of that. And you can kind of see everyone is looking bloodthirsty behind us. But yeah, with just 3 laps remaining here, we are going to push everything that we have in order to stay ahead. And we have another incident.
There's a yellow flag now.
Who has been crashing this time around? It's Bottas. Is he going to take out the Aston? Is the Aston going to take him out? Just a light touch, but then he also gets a knock there from the Haas, or rather he collects the Haas. So pretty eventful sprint in terms of incidents, and we've actually already pulled away enough from Sainz that he's outside of DRS. But we're coming up on a twisty section. We suck at the twists and turns, so it's probably going to catch up. But it is looking very, very promising for us here in order to maybe snatch a surprise sprint win. It would honestly be very, very, very amazing if we did. We're going to turn down energy usage a little bit, so we have a little bit to kind of protect ourselves with on the final lap. That's going to be the goal, the hope. Sainz is looking pretty desperate here in terms of launching an attack. But the fact that the safety car kind of has gifted us a potential 1-2 here is quite amazing. And with Hamilton and Russell falling further behind, that is solidifying our position. But yeah, that is a Sainz that is incredibly close and incredibly dangerous. Could potentially get a little bit of a move made. But looks like we did at least get through the first hurdle pretty safely. The question now is, can Gasly protect himself against DRS Sainz going into the corner here? And honestly, it does not look very good. How are you looking, Gasly? You have been overtaken. Can you get that position back? And as you can see, confidence is not high for Gasly, so it's a little bit risky doing this. And honestly, I'm kind of putting Ocon at risk too. So we'll have to just tune him down. Unfortunately, they did get that overtake done. Sainz did get us on the final lap. We tried to do what we could here with what we had. Unfortunately, it was not enough to get a win. But a second and a third place in the sprint is still also very respectable. It is huge points for us. So we'll take that, particularly compared to the Mercedes, and it gives us an amazing starting point for the race itself. So, while not the best thing ever, it is still very much acceptable. But yeah, second and third, way better than we hoped for. And that is a good 13 points gained versus 3 points for the Mercedes. So 10 points gained here is, as mentioned, pretty damn amazing. So we're going to go ahead and accept that outcome. Now for the race itself here, we are going to go ahead and probably do a very classic two-stopper. It's probably the best that we can do. And I am very tempted here to just start on the hard tire. Go full attack, try and get something done, or at least keep the positions that we have, and then use the medium tires towards the end of this. We do have, I believe, one soft tire available. We actually have two soft tires available here. But probably not going to be using them too much, if at all. So we'll have to see. We could, of course, try and put in a soft tire here, run it light, and honestly, it wouldn't really change anything. Mediums on standard or softs on light kind of do the same thing around here. So we're going to go ahead here and do this. This is the reason why we ran soft tires in the sprint. It was to ensure that we could have two medium tires for the race itself. So that's basically it. We're going to go very aggressive here with the hard tire. Try and push what we can on the first stint. Let's see if we can turn this into another good result here. We're probably going to struggle with a little bit of confidence. Gasly does have a really bad setup. I messed this one up pretty terribly. But hopefully we can still have a good comeback here. Let's see how the race goes. The race has just begun, and immediately we have an incident involving Hamilton and the Aston in turn 4, where there is a loss of, a loss of front wing as it tags him slightly. He does get a penalty for it, and as you can see, it did take a little bit of tire damage, but it is kind of what you'd expect. It just gotten started, so incidents like that can happen. And interestingly enough here, Ocon and Gasly are doing a very good job at staying with the Ferraris, which is honestly one of the goals for pushing this aggressively at the start of this race, is basically just stay with the Ferraris as much as possible, take advantage of their DRS, and try and make something, create a little bit of gap to the cars further behind. Hamilton, in this case Schumacher, surprisingly. And it's not working out perfectly, but it has gone well so far. We actually do have Verstappen here to act as the next pulley. So let's see what we can do, if we can convert this into a good result for us.
Now this
We
is
have
Sergio
yet
Perez.
another incident in this Austrian GP, as Perez has had a bit of a
Cars coming together right
bully moment and sent the Aston of Stroll off the racing line, or into the gravel, if you prefer that. Now, unfortunately for us, we have not really had a good race. Ocon is down into 8th position. The Williams are doing amazing. Russell is doing great. And we are just kind of struggling further down the grid order. Thanks to, for one, the fact that our components are starting to really, really wear out, which is just how things are going to have to be. Unfortunately, we're probably going to be struggling quite a lot for the second half of the season, as we don't really have, as we have that second set of one components that we need to wear down as well. And honestly here, it's not looking, as mentioned, too amazing due to that. We'll have to just try and make the best out of it. Best case scenario here, we get 6th place for Ocon. Best case scenario for Gasly, he overtakes Stroll for 10th. But yeah, with 3 laps to go, we don't really have too much here working out in our favor. So I think we're just going to have to force Ocon here to do a little bit more pushing. And we actually have Perez also being a bit of a nuisance here, catching up. So the quicker we get into DRS of the cars in front, the better. And we also did have a Haas there being a little bit of a problem. And Perez is actually missing a part of his rear wing. So he's, even with car damage, he's still really, really quick. And that is a bit of a concern as Verstappen starts the final lap. Now, this is not our final lap. We will be starting that in just a second. Basically, just now. And we have just barely gotten enough energy there to get within DRS distance of the cars in front. And the question is, can we launch any sort of attack on them into the 4th corner here? We do get the Williams. Can we get Alonso as well? We are being very brave there, Ocon. And while he does kind of, create a little bit of a problem there for Alonso, he does in fact run out of energy. And if not for that, we probably could still have caused him a little bit of pain. 10th is probably going to be Gasly's position here. 7th is going to be Ocon's.
Well done, P6.
And with Tsunoda and Albon scoring points, surprisingly enough, that's gonna make things a bit difficult. But Russell in third here is gonna negate any advantage that we got from that sprint. So
That's P10.
yeah, not really a good race weekend. It was looking very promising from the sprint, but pit stop errors in particular has ruined our race here today, as they've put us, well, stuck behind the other cars for the majority. Yeah, 7th and 10th, not the best. Let's be honest, it's terrible. Verstappen wins as usually does, and honestly, that is probably going to be it here. As you can see, we still gained 2 points over Mercedes this weekend, but yeah, definitely not a big fan of Russell's third place. Now, as I mentioned, we did have a pit stop error that kind of ruined Gasly's race here. We pitted him on a very limited window. If he did not have this pit stop error, he would have come out ahead of 5 other cars in the DRS train, but he got stuck behind that DRS train going from, I believe it was 11 to 16, and that kind of ruined his race. In Ocon's case, he wasn't that unlucky, but yeah, the pit stop error there really not doing us any favors. But yeah, we still have Silverstone, we still have the Hungaroring. Let's see if we can get through them without any more incidents. We're getting to the end of a pretty painless British Grand Prix, with the exception of Russell once again being in a podium position. We're running 5th and 6th and are probably gonna get said positions, but the fact that we're just a couple of seconds off a podium is in fact rather painful when you take into account the fact that we had another pit stop issue here. But yeah, we're not going to be able to catch Russell, and unfortunately here Stroll is not going to be able to overtake him. By the looks of it, he's been stuck behind him for a while, and well, we did our best there. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, as Alonso has picked up a bit of a puncture. But yeah, that was the British GP. Again, very disappointed here, honestly. We were close to, again, just snatching a podium. And for the last few laps there, we have been gaining pretty significantly. 3/10 in that last lap, but it was final lap. But laps before that, between 2 and 2.5 seconds. So
Fantastic news, Esteban. P6.
yeah, not the best ending to the British GP, I'll be honest. But on the other hand, it's still a good point scoring position for us. We get 18 points, and Mercedes get, well, 17. So we still win, but Russell is currently carrying Mercedes a little bit on his back, and it is frustrating to watch. We still have the lead, though, as mentioned, that 1 point gained. We are also gaining a little bit on Aston Martin and Ferrari, but we kind of need Russell to stop getting himself up on that podium. And also, as you can see, a pit stop error for Gasly, pit stop error for Ocon, and when you kind of can see that this pit stop error potentially cost us a podium, then you can see my frustration. But we're going to try and get the final race done for today, which is Hungaroring. Let's see if that one too is a painless endeavor. A fairly mediocre race here comes to an end, with Gasly finishing 11th as he has been lapped. Ocon is going to finish 9th. Paris, Alonso, Verstappen is the podium. Russell and Hamilton score 4th and 7th. And with that, we've had a incredibly bad showing here, but there's a reason for that, and that is that our engines they're suffering major wear, and we're below 20%, which means that we're going to be switching them out after this race. And honestly, we're probably going to do the same for the ERS, I think. Basically, what we're going to do is take a fresh engine, take the ERS penalty, and then have a last kind of fresh set before we're going to be suffering for the last 6-7 races of this season. I think that's going to be the play here in order to get something more out of this this season as it is. Russell continues his streak of good form here with a 4th place, barely beating out the Aston, as has become the norm. And unfortunately, that does make us suffer quite a bit. He even improved 5 places from his starting position. Now, in terms of driver championship here, then we're 8th and 9th, fairly set, if you will. And in the constructors, Mercedes gains a huge amount of points. They're on us, 16, and we're just 2 points between us. I think they're going to beat us by the end of this year. There's just no way around it. And even if I were to develop the car, I don't think it's going to change. We also had another pit stop error this weekend, which also does not help in any way, shape, or form. But they didn't really have any bearing on the result this time around. Now, we have also used 2 safety periods on developing the car. as a jar goes up to 75. And as I said, we've used 2 CFD periods on research on the underfloor and on the front wing, as you can see. That's going to help us out in the long run. But with everything kind of finishing up right now, we haven't actually been able to do too much research so far. We have the front wing with CFD coming in here. We have rear wing and suspension coming in a couple of days. But if we take a quick look at what we actually have been doing in terms of our research here, with the rules and regulations, we got 1 research done on the chassis. We've got none done yet on the front wing, but we have that CFD one coming in. Rear wing, nothing so far. Sidepod, we've done 1 research, kind of same as the chassis, so nothing too major. And we got that CFD usage underfloor done as well. So honestly, research-wise, we haven't really gotten too much going at the moment, but as some of these researches finish, as we do put in a little bit more towards next year, I think things are going to be looking a lot better for us. We also have regulation vote results to be announced today. We might as well take a look at those before we end it. And as you can see, they did get voted for, or voted through. We actually voted for it as well. The sporting regulation change here that is happening is that pole position now gives you a bonus point. So I want to see how that plays out over the course of next season. And unfortunately here, we haven't been able to solve the issue between Lewis and Gasly, and he has lost affinity as a result. We'll just have to acknowledge that for now and let him sort that out on their own. But yeah, as I mentioned here, the engines are pretty worn. ERS is also reaching that kind of 1 point. So I think what we'll be doing at the next race in Spa is that we switch the new engine to our final engine. Then we go ahead here and take the ERS. We take the ERS penalty, and then we have a fresh car for the next 5 or 6 races. And then we're just going to have to use those poor and used components for the last half and just pray that we survive. We have a lot of money, honestly, but there's not really much to do it on that on yet. There's no need to upgrade the suspension system or car part test center yet because we're not going to be making new parts. We could probably get a level of the design center up and running, get it up to level 3, and then upgrade it to level 4 next year. That could be a play here. But honestly, it's not something that I feel I need to rush at the moment. We are refurbishing the team hub as it got a little bit worn down. But all of our facilities are kind of working to their capabilities that I would like. Now, we do have one thing that we do need to kind of consider going into next year, and that is the fact that Ocon's contract is running out. Now, Ocon is a very decent driver, but we could potentially switch him out for a better driver, and there are currently better drivers that are interested in taking his spot. In that case, we have Russell, who's been a menace. We have Norris, who everyone knows is very good. And we got Hamilton as well as an option. But honestly, at this point, I think we might end up taking Russell over Hamilton. But honestly, I would love to get Norris because of his smoothness. But we might also just stay with Ocon. I'm a little bit undecided on that. So take a look at what their stats are exactly before we make any decisions on that. Now, I did say earlier in the video that I was going to make more of a montage about what research we've done, but honestly, we haven't done a lot of research projects. We have used safety on our, our underfloor, on our front wing, but part of that, we have just done a couple of other research projects that we have finished. We have some finishing soon, so I think I'll just show that off next episode instead, as this one has taken quite a long time. We've had a lot of races that have had a lot of incidents happen as well, which have, of course, extended it somewhat. But this is definitely a difficult challenge, far more difficult than I anticipated. And the fact that we're going to struggle with getting fourth this year is kind of surprising. But yeah, we have some things to consider next time. Do we want to switch out Ocon? Are we going to be able to hold on to fourth here versus Mercedes? Or are the board going to be extremely upset with me? I assume they aren't. They're actually satisfied with the Budapest performance, so it's not terrible. But yeah, we'll have to see if we can improve somewhat. But yeah, that is it for today. Hope you've enjoyed, and I hope to see you around next time. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a nice summer. Bye bye.